The federal government this year gave us a great opportunity to create a new award when Congress decided to shut down the federal government. And what we wanted to do was take a look at what the shutdown did and did not accomplish, and how it affected the people that government is supposed to serve. The winner of that award is the Wall Street Journal, and joining us is Journal reporter Elizabeth Williamson.
Good evening. On behalf of my colleagues at the Wall Street Journal and myself, I'd like to thank you very much for this award, for our work covering the federal government shutdown, which, as we all know here in Washington, had broad, sweeping, widespread effects that none of us could have actually predicted at the time that it occurred. So there were 4 stories in our package. The first was by Laura Meckler of the DC Bureau on the rippling impact of the shutdown on the federal workforce and on federal institutions and agencies ranging from national parks to the Smithsonian to the Army Navy, or the Navy Air Force, football game. The second was by our Pittsburgh and Chicago reporters, James Haggerty, Doug Cameron, and John Miller, who went far afield from Washington to focus on the effects of the shutdown in the industrial heartland, talking about the impacts on defense contractors, on industry, on the sort of bread and butter of the economy. The third was by our New York-based reporters, Sarah Needleman, Angus Lowton, and Ruth Simon, and that documented the pain created for small business owners across the nation. Not only they, but their families rely on federal contracts to feed them, and this all suddenly dried up, and so that group documented the impact on those small businesses, which we know make up 60% of our economy. Then the shutdown ended. But I was already assigned to write something about it, and everybody had already taken all the good subjects. So I wrote this: the reopening of the federal government couldn't come soon enough for the war on stink bugs, whose reeking legions have used the shutdown to solidify their grip on the nation's capital. As it happened, the shutdown actually did occur in the middle of the USDA's great stink bug study and eradication program, which has a big impact not only on the crops in Pennsylvania, but the topiary in Georgetown. And so they were at their most active at the time that the government shut down, and by the time the government came back to work, they were already hibernating. So that was the 4th story in our series, and I would be remiss if, especially speaking of invasive, we didn't thank our editors on these stories. This being the Wall Street Journal, they are far, far too numerous to mention personally. But again, thanks all of you, and to our colleagues, thank you for this.